Contractions. You know you should be timing them, so you know when it's about time to head to the hospital, the birth center, or to call your midwife. But do you know how to time them? In this video, I'm taking you through how to time your contractions the old-fashioned way with a pen, paper, and stopwatch, and also giving you some recommendations on some apps that make this part so much easier. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm a doula, a birth photographer, and a childbirth educator in the Greater Toronto Area. And I'm extremely passionate about informed and empowered birth. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any tips, tricks, and advice to birth and parent like a boss. So before I get into some of the better apps out there to time your contractions, I did want to explain first how to do it with just a pen, paper, and stopwatch so that you understand how contractions are tracked. There are two things you're tracking with each contraction. Its length, which is the actual duration of the contraction itself, and the frequency, which is the time from the start of one contraction to the start of the next contraction. So for example, you have probably heard the 411 rule. If you watched my video on the stages of labor, you definitely know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, that's okay. The 411 rule is when you're considered to be in active labor, and it refers to contractions that are 4 minutes apart or less, lasting for at least 1 minute, and that pattern has been consistent for at least 1 hour. So if you were timing your contractions, what this would look like on paper is a contraction starts at 0 minutes, it ends at 1 minute, that's the length. You have a 3-minute break, and then another contraction begins at the 4-minute mark, ends at the 5-minute mark. You get another break until the 8-minute mark, and then another contraction starts. So that's just an example of the 411 rule in action, and you would expect that type of pattern to continue for at least an hour. You could track your contractions with pen and paper. People have been doing this forever, right? But with modern technology, why not use an app instead? I've rounded up 3 of my favorite apps for timing contractions, and I'll be sharing the cost of each, what I love about each, and what I didn't like about each. If there's an app that you think I should include but haven't, let me know in the comments below so I can check it out. So the first one is called Contraction Timer, and it is pretty simple, which is what I like about it. It is super simple to use. You just press start when a contraction is starting and tap anywhere on the screen when it's done, and the app tracks the rest. You can adjust the slider at the bottom to indicate intensity of the contractions. You can manually add contractions if you missed tracking one, which does happen, and you can even see the averages and a graph of your last 5 contractions. Free, which I like, obviously, but it does come with ads, which doesn't really detract from the usability of the app, but if too many ads on an app screen bothers you, this one might not be for you. Storky Contraction Timer is another popular one that has a few more bells and whistles, including letting you know when you should head to the hospital or birth center, and a dark mode for night use. It shows the counting of the interval itself, which is nice, and the interface is pretty if that matters to you, which, let's be honest, it matters to most of us to some extent. You can pause the timer if you want to take a break from timing for a bit, which I highly recommend to do, and you can start new sessions whenever you want. The one caution I have is that the notification to consider heading to the hospital or birth center may lead some to head there too early. So I created one contraction that met the criteria for active labor, just one contraction, and it gave me the prompt to head to the hospital or birth center. But ideally, you would want to have a pattern of contractions lasting for an hour or longer before calling it active labor. Another thing I didn't like was that you can't manually add contractions, and I found with my own labors that sometimes I needed to do this if a contraction came and my phone wasn't beside me, or I forgot to press the start button. Both of those happened, so that manual addition would be a great feature to have too. Storky is free, and it doesn't have ads in your face like Contraction Timer does, but it is only available in the Apple App Store, so no Android support. The Full Term app is the one I personally used with my 2 labors, and I really liked it even though it looks fairly basic. It will give you the average for the last hour of your contractions and the last 6 hours, though again, I don't recommend tracking contractions continuously for that long. Just don't do it, please. You will drive yourself crazy. I also use this before labor as a kick counter, which I found really reassuring. So it does double duty that way, and as well, you can also track your weight. So really, you could use this app a lot earlier than the others I've mentioned already. In addition, you can manually enter contractions, which I did have to do a few times. You can set up alerts based on the 511 or 411 rule, and with the kick counter, you can set up a reminder to do your kick counts at the same time every day, which is also recommended. It is free and it does have ads, but they're not intrusive by any means. What I do really like though about this app is that you can resume your session on another device connected to the same iCloud account, and it also has the dark mode for night use. Now there is one other app that caught my eye in the App Store that is free and had really good reviews, and that app is called Contraction Timer by Wonderkind. It's a really lovely looking app that has a beautiful screen during contractions and also reminders to relax and breathe. You can also choose different ambient sounds to play during contractions, like ocean, nature, or rain. I'm not sure how useful this would be, but it's still a nice feature to have. You can also email your history, which to be honest is kind of nice if you wanted to do that, especially if it's something that, you kind of wanted to save for after your birth to put in a baby book, for example. So overall, I prefer and personally used twice the full term app. I love that it's free, that you can use it well before your labor to do kick counts, that you can customize the contraction alerts, and that you can manually add or remove contractions. All of the apps I mentioned are available on both iOS and Android except for Storky, and all of them are completely free with no in-app purchases. So that's it. If you think I missed any great apps for timing contractions, let me know in the comments, and if you want to know more about what to expect during labor, check out the video on the stages of labor that I did. Don't forget to grab your printable birth affirmations from the link in the description. And if you want more doula tips and tricks, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to hit that like button and share with anyone in your life who is pregnant or a new parent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.